All right, everybody. I hope you guys are doing very well. Let's see if we can end that and get back over here where you all are. Hey, there you are. Okay, so language of horses, watching from Oregon. Welcome, Rose from Oregon. I'm sorry, my poor old eyes. Russ from Oregon. Nice to meet you. Hey, Cinnamon, hot. Welcome. Hey, Kathy, good to see you. Cinnamon, Mimi. Let's see. It looks like Cinnamon was first today. She's the winner. Hey, Diane, good to see you, my friend. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have heard about this. This has got to be one of the nuttiest, craziest stories and situations that I've ever seen. And you will not be surprised at all to know that it includes, it concerns Gilbert, Arizona. Now, if Gilbert, Arizona seems familiar to you, why would that be? Who knows why Gilbert, Arizona is familiar to us? Have we known of others that were associated with Gilbert, Arizona? I think we need Jeopardy music. Dun, 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 dun. What do we know about Gilbert, Arizona? Lori Vallow, that is correct. And Melanie, right? Jason Mao, correct. Who will ever, I mean, can you ever forget? Can you ever get away from the heartbreaking image of Charles Vallow pleading, begging with law enforcement, I need help. Something's gone wrong. Something is off the rails with my wife. She is going to hurt my two kids. Help me. And what did they do? Well, I need my lip gloss. And the police officers at Gilbert Police Department were, I don't mind saying it. And if your husband or your wife is a police officer with Gilbert, I apologize, but this is a long-standing issue that I have with the way that law enforcement initially, oh hell, let's just be honest, not initially, the way that law enforcement responded initially and in the midterm, the moderate range of time from those kids going missing, it was a disaster until finally Rexburg, some of the detectives in Rexburg said, this just doesn't look right. The whole world was saying, this doesn't look right. Something's wrong. And we, a lot of cops dropped the ball. A lot of them dropped the ball. You got Melanie, she's lying. How long did she lie about whether she had JJ or not, or when she dropped JJ off? Maybe it wasn't a lie of commission, but it was definitely a lie of omission. Cops reaching out to her, she's not responding. Don't you think that ought to be a red flag to a police officer to go, gosh, this lady is acting like she doesn't want to talk to us. I wonder why. So Gilbert, Arizona, associated with Jason Mao and others, already comes into the story with a reputation for, should we say, lackadaisical response to the needs of the community. Is that a good one? So specifically, the story today is about the death of a young man. His name was Preston Lord. Preston died in October of this last year. He died in about the most horrific way that we would ever want to think of our kids dying. He died at a party. He died at a party surrounded by his friends. He died at a party where every 16, 17-year-old kid goes and hangs out on the weekend. No nefarious activity, just, hey, mom, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. Now, you may be saying, okay, well, Tristan probably was a drug user. He was probably a bad kid. He was probably one of the little delinquents running around. No, that wouldn't be Preston Lord at all. Preston was actually on the student council at his high school. He was a very, very good kid. Everyone liked him. He was kind. He was sweet. He was smart. He was basically the kid that everybody looks at and says, no problems there. Preston is going to go on and live a great life and be a contributing member of society. And that is not what happened. Now you think, well, but why the focus on Preston Lord? Because there's a lot of good kids, unfortunately, that run across the wrong people. There's a lot of good kids that lose their lives to things like car accidents. What's so special about Preston Lord that his story is one that deserves to be told? Here's why. Because for 2 years, law enforcement around Gilbert, Queen Creek, the county knew that they had a problem. The youth were out of control. Teen violence in this area is apparently off the charts, which is incredibly interesting because Gilbert, Arizona was just named like the safest city in all of Arizona. Really? The safest city in all of Arizona? We watched Charles Vallow plead and beg for help. Y'all remember those heartbreaking videos? Gut-wrenching. Begging. Please, please, please. We watched him do everything but stand on his head trying to get someone to do a psychological evaluation on Lori And he was dismissed, categorically pushed aside, like, oh, you must be the abuser. You must be the one who's harming this. Look at the little lady. Look at the sweet little lady. She could never, ever harm a fly. Just look at her. All she's worried about is her lip gloss. Look how cute. And they didn't do anything. So then you've got a kid who his friends contact him and say, hey, come up to the In-N-Out burger and let's hang out for a little while and eat a burger, or whatever. It's only a couple of miles from his house. He's at home with his dad. His mom lives overseas. And he says, hey, Dad, can I go and get a burger with my friends? And Dad's like, of course, sure. Why not? We live in the safest city in all of Arizona. You're just going to go a mile down the road and go have a hamburger with your buddies. Go. I would have said go. And so this kid, not Preston Lord, he goes, before he ever really gets out of his truck and into the building, he is surrounded by a mob of little animals. You heard me. I use the word animals, and I'll stand by that term. When in Rome, do as Romans do. If you're going to act like an animal, if you're going to act like a mob of angry dogs, then you're going to get called an angry dog, right? No word shaming here. So this good kid is trying to go in and have a hamburger with his friends, and he is surrounded by a mob of teenagers that proceed to beat him near death. 2 years ago. This kid is on video. They've got video of this violence. Running, attempting to run, trying to run away. And these animals are grabbing him and holding him so the other animals can exact their revenge. And the father is being interviewed because clearly he calls the police and he says, my child is near death. Like, we're in the emergency room. He's been assaulted for literally no reason at all. And of course, the police are like, oh, don't be ridiculous. He had to have done something. Now, do I believe that? I do believe that because I watched Charles Vallow beg and plead for a psychological evaluation for Lori. I watched Charles Vallow beg and plead related to JJ and Tylee. I watched Charles Vallow beg and plead trying to find out where the hell was his stuff because that crazy woman came in and emptied out the house, stole his truck, canceled his airplane tickets. I mean, I don't know how much more proof these police officers needed to recognize that Lori was a danger to herself and everyone else. She was out of control. And these police officers thought she was so cute worrying about her missing lip gloss. And now got the same type of situation happening. You got a teenage kid who has been beat within inches of his life. And when the dad calls and says something has to be done, help, he was brushed off. These stories, I can continue to tell these stories. We could take up the next 3 hours with me telling stories like the In-N-Out burger beating or what I'm about to tell you about Preston Lord, who died in 2023 in October. The takeaway from this is that parents and business owners are reaching out to the police for 2 years saying these kids are hurting people. They're going to kill someone. They're horrible, awful, terrible jerk kids. Oh, Who wants to know the name of their gang? In fact, right now today, Arizona, Maricopa County is in the process of defining, designating the gang of these rabid little jerks who are going around harming good people. They're in the process of designating the little jerks, their little gang name. There will be now an official gang so that they can prosecute properly. Who knows the name of the gang? Anybody know? The Gilbert Goons. That's right. The gang of marauding monsters. They themselves call themselves the Gilbert Goons. This in a town that has just been named the safest town in Arizona. Welcome to the misleading world of unethical statistics. That depending on what you decide to report, that can make all the difference in the world whether your statistics are really accurate in defining reality. So we have watched these cops in the Lord Vallow case. We've watched these cops just outright ignore reality. And you have to say, why? What's wrong with them? Why wouldn't they help? When Charles Vallow is begging and pleading for help, why did the cops drop the ball? Well, because you don't have to report a crime if someone didn't sign their name on a report. Did it really happen if there wasn't a police report? So it's all about impression management. Cops being told, don't you dare arrest a perpetrator. I don't want a single arrest in violent crime because at the end of the year, we're going to get a report that's going to say whether we're one of the most dangerous cities in Arizona. So if we don't have these official incidents, then we have really great statistics at the end of the reporting year. See what I mean? So it almost, this weird situation related to this group of juvenile delinquents, it almost gives us answers for what went so wrong off the rails in the Lori Vallow, Charles Vallow murder. For example, can you ever forget Lori Vallow's brother sitting on the curb in front of the house with a little, an abrasion at the back of his head, no bleed, no like bruising and giant goose egg and an indication that this person has just received a blunt force injury to the head. Nothing like that. Almost like it was like cut, like the skin was cut to make it bleed. You ever seen anybody that had like a bicycle accident or they got hit in the head with a baseball? You ever seen that? What happens? The baseball hits you, boom, right here. What do you see? That whole front goes, doo, 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 doo. You got a big old goosebump on your head, hopefully, right? Because you want to go out, not in. We didn't see that with Alec. He didn't have a big goose egg. There wasn't subcutaneous edema or bleeding. There was no bruising. It was like this little squiggly and then some blood. Why? Was it cut? Was it a pretend? Was it a ruse? Was it your story for self-defense? Oh, look, I've been assaulted by a weightlifter, Charles Vallow, who had been a baseball player, hits me over the head up here, hits me over the head with a baseball bat, full force, and that's what you got? That dog don't hunt. That's what we say here in Texas. So the whole thing was so bizarre. How can we ever forget it? And then he walks into the interrogation room at Gilbert Police Department because they're going to take a statement. You think, well, for sure there's going to be like an arrest. Like there's a man dead, shot twice in very strange circumstances. The mother, the wife, drives away knowing that her husband's been shot, and she goes to McDonald's to get chicken sticks. It's craziness. You think, of course, there's going to be an arrest. It's got to be a trial. Gun violence. No, not in Gilbert, Arizona. Why? They're very worried about that end of the year report that says Gilbert is the safest city in Arizona. So if you don't arrest someone for murder, did the murder ever happen? There you go. So Gilbert, Arizona, home of one famous Jason Mao. Well, it seems like they have a law enforcement problem. Now, I'm going to get a lot of hate from this. I'm going to get a lot of hate, people saying, oh, support the police, hold the blue line. Sure, I'm with you. 100%. Do not defund the police. Give them more money. Give them lots of money. Our police officers and firemen should be paid more than an accountant, in my opinion. But it is possible, and it is a reality, that when we have a systemic problem within a police department, the people that ultimately pay a price for that are the citizens of the city, the town, or the county, or the state, depending on, what you're talking about. So Gilbert's got a problem. And that problem has now fast forwarded past the whole Lori Vallow recordings where we saw Charles Vallow begging for help and assistance, and they not responding even moderately effectively or appropriately. Now, fast forward, now we got a dead teenager, Preston Lord, a good kid, not a troublemaker, not a delinquent, not a kid engaging in dangerous behaviors. And as you begin to learn about what happened to Preston that fateful night and what a nightmare and horrible situation it actually was, then you begin to realize, hold on, this is a very complicated story. As of this week, there have been 7 people arrested. Brace yourselves. Not making this up, including a father. One of the 2 brothers. How foolish of me. 2 boys arrested. One is in grown-up jail, and the other one is in, minor. Their dad has been caught up in this whole thing. His business owner, the dad's business partner, he's caught up too. Oh, and did I mention the executive assistant who is also in this? Does this sound like an accident, or does this sound like years of a police department allowing a group of unchecked kids to run rampant? Answer that. Does it sound like an accident? Put a 1. If it sounds like a group of parents and or police officers who had zero control over their kids, who were allowed to basically become Lord of the Flies, put a 2. I'll wait. 1 or 2? Ooh, Jackie Blue. How you doing, Jackie? Only people that voted so far are Desired and Cinnamon Hot Hot. Come on, people. A 1 or a 2. Is it an accident that could happen anywhere? Or is it the perfect storm of kids gone wild, out of control? Me's her mom. She's a 2. Diane. Thank you, Diane, my friend, too. Lives a life from inside of a room. I have to catch up to the story. That's what we're doing, Jackie Blue. This is the first time that I've talked about this. And the reason I say the first time is because this is another Lori Vallow story. And it's not a let me clarify here. It's not a Lori Vallow story that there are missing children and a psychotic mother. It's not that type of mystery story. When I or complicated story. What I mean is it's a Lori Vallow story because of the tentacles, because of the number of tangential offshoots from Preston Lord murder. That's where it starts. Preston Lord's murder. And as you try to educate yourself and learn about Preston and learn about the influences that came together, coalesced into a mother's nightmare, you begin to realize this is not a simple cause and effect. This is not a simple cause and effect. This is the safest community in Arizona. And there's also Queen Creek, Pinal County is owning, since Preston Lord has died, was murdered, Pinal County is now standing up and saying, we have a problem. This is the ultimate fall from grace, that a bunch of statistics that I believe were knowingly manipulated. I believe that. And I think Duty Ron would absolutely disagree. Okay, I do. I know there are people that stand firm beside the police, and a police officer can do no wrong, and I respect that. I respect your thoughts on that. If I'm in a dichotomous forced choice situation and I have to either stand with the cops or against the cops, 100% with no kind of thought on my part, I'm jumping over to the cop side, 100%. But we don't really live in a forced choice dichotomy. Our world is not really like that. Our world is not one where it's either yes or no, or all right or all wrong. In fact, that's the ultimate cognitive distortion. The reality is that the greatest majority, the grandest majority of us all, we all live in the gray. We don't live in the all black or all white, or the all right and the all wrong. We live in the gray area that exists in between, because that's real life. And so in this situation with teen violence coming out of Pinal County, specifically Queen Creek, these are multi-million-dollar homes, people. We're not talking about a bunch of inner city kids in New York or Chicago that are in survival mode. We're talking about affluence. We're talking about the American dream. And it's gone wrong. It's off the rails. And there is, at the heart of this story, as you begin to try to read about it and learn about it and figure out exactly what happened to Preston Lord, like what went wrong with this poor kid, I cannot imagine the grief and the outrage of the parents and the friends of this very, very promising young man. It's a huge loss to the United States of America. This is one young man that had the potential to be a big player, a major contributor to his community, his state, possibly to all of us. He was a gift, and his life was snuffed out by a bunch of kids that had adopted a Lord of the Flies mentality. There were no adults guiding this group of kids. I don't know where they were. I don't know if they were too caught up in their own their own pleasures in life. I don't know if they were too caught up in their own ambitions. I don't know if they were too caught up in their own misery. I don't know what happened, but without a doubt, when you get into the story, this was a long-standing pattern behavior. This group of kids, rich and poor, coming together in one organized gang that they called Jacob Pennington called the Gilbert Goons. 2 years of teen violence with this specific group of kids, building up to the apex of the murder of Preston Lord at a party. These kids weren't even a part of the party. They were this roving band of wild dogs, wild dogs, wolf pack. They hunt in strategic packs. Every dog has its role in the hunt, and they herd their prey to go to a certain area where there won't be any means of escape. They have 2 or 3 dogs whose job it is to go for the throat or to go for the gut. The other dogs are there to control the prey as it's trying to get away. And that is exactly what this group of kids was doing. So to open this conversation, because there's not very many, if any, YouTube channels that are discussing this, there is a podcast that has been done by local journalists in Arizona. There are some new local stations in Arizona that are sort of updating people on the developments of the story, arrests and whatnot. And other than that, maybe a few TikToks, a couple of people on TikToks. It's just not a story that's gained much traction. And you have to ask yourself, my God, why? Why hasn't the true crime community, the true crime channels that have followed along with Lori Vallow case, the death of JJ and Tylee, why haven't they picked up this story? It's been kept quiet. And what one question you have to ask yourself is this another benefit of affluence? Is this another example of controlling the narrative because it's a bunch of wealthy families that are involved? And look, I think, please don't get me wrong on this. I shouldn't talk about this because I make people mad when I do, but I have to talk. I have to be authentic. I have to speak my truth, right? I do think Donna Adelson and Wendy Adelson, I do believe that Danny Markell is dead because of Wendy Adelson and Donna Adelson. I believe that. I 100% believe that. I believe that Katie Magbanoa and Wendy worked together to make this happen. And I believe that Donna funded it, right? What I don't believe is it is very difficult for me to understand, and Lord knows I'm continuing to try, but I don't see the Charlie Adelson aspect of it. What people have focused on is that he was the connection. He was the connector between the hitmen, the trigger guys, and Danny Markell. But that's off. That's not real. We have pictures of Katie Magbanoa with Wendy in Miami together. There is another connection that makes a little more sense because Charlie Adelson didn't even like Danny, didn't spend time with him, didn't go see him. There really was not a connection with Danny Markell, not to mention no motive, but there was with Wendy and Katie and the trigger man. So I'm a little off from the rest of the true crime community on the murder of Dan Markell, specific to Charlie, but not everybody else. The reason that I bring that up is because how do I want to say this? Sometimes we're scared in the true crime community to voice the inconvenient truth, correct? That it can be dangerous because we are an opinionated group. I don't care what anybody says about us here in the true crime community. We are definitely an opinionated group. And what we believe, and we don't want to, waver from that. So to talk about this group of kids in Gilbert, Arizona, Pinal County, to talk about them, they're some of them are poor. Some of them are dealing with families with drug problems and things, alcoholism, things like that. But there's a number of these kids, a large percentage of the kids in the Gilbert Goons are living in very affluent homes where they have all the luxuries that money can give or powerful parents can give. Where, what was it that, I'm going to get this wrong if I try to say it. Hold on a minute. Joe Biden said something like, that poor kids are just as smart as white kids. Is that how he said it? Something weird, something strange like that. No. This is an equal opportunity destroyer in Pinal County. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. None of that matters. The Gilbert Goons is an all-American gang. It is a diversified gang. It has Native American, Indian children or teenagers. It has African American. It has Caucasian. It has the poorest of the poor. It has the wealthiest of the wealthy, and it has the middle class. So, in that sense, the Gilbert Goons is an acceptable violent gang because, it is properly diversified. But they're still killing people. They're still attacking people. This kid that got beat up in the In-N-Out burger, he actually is a kid that had been at another high school, and he had begun to be bullied by some of the friends of the Gilbert Goons. And the bullying got bad enough with this kid that his dad, Kuhner is his name, that his dad chose to move him to a different high school in hopes that he would have a fresh start, that the gang group would not be there to harm him and the likes. So he comes to the oh gosh, I've got the high school written down. Memorial High School. So the Kuhner's son comes to the new high school. I think it is Memorial, but I might be wrong. I may be misremembering that. He comes to the new high school, starts making friends. People accept him. He's just a regular teenager, and the Gilbert Goons find out where he's at, and now they're tracking him again. And that is ultimately where they caught him outside the In-N-Out burger. The level of bullying, both virtual, online, tracking him and gang stalking, in addition to the physical assault that he was experiencing. Kids would come up to him in the hallway at school and put a knife to his stomach and say, if you tell anyone that we're here, we're going to kill you. And of course, he's scared, so he didn't tell people. And it was the level of the bullying and the gang stalking was so extreme. The dad's on the phone and he's calling the cops, any cop that he can talk to. He called Maricopa County and spoke to some attorneys there. And they all said the same thing. And he finally loaded his son up on an airplane and sent his son over to Germany to live with his mother. That's how bad it was. So just today, just in this hour or so, we've talked about Preston Lord, the child that the teenager that was murdered, and the other young man. I'm trying to be sensitive about his name because he's been stalked so badly. He's been moved completely to a new country. Does that sound okay? Does that sound like a responsive police department? Now, these are not two isolated cases. There are dozens of kids that have been beaten up, maimed, threatened, families selling their home to move away because these violent monsters were coming to their family home. Why is it for 2 years the Gilbert Goons are raping and pillaging, and the cops don't report any crimes, they don't investigate any crimes, they don't write up any criminal reports, and Gilbert, Arizona gets named the safest city in Arizona? It's pretty horrifying. So Mama Bear, okay, thank you, Mama Bear. Yay. Mama Bear has been seeing this story. Did you see it on TikTok? I think TikTok is about the only place that people are really talking about it very much. Hey, Maureen Gunn, good to see you. He moved him to Perry High School. Thank you, David. I knew Memorial. Somebody was at Memorial. Was it Jacob Pennington? Somebody was at Memorial, and I don't remember. Anyway, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Barry has corrected us, rightfully so. Thank you so much. Oh, Mama Bear lives in Gilbert. Okay, so this lack of legal or law enforcement response for what is ongoing violent behavior. Is that a good way to put it? What do you think, Mama Bear? Do you think that the police were not responding intentionally aware that they didn't want those reports to be counted in statistics? Or do you think people were just saying it's a bunch of kids? How bad could it be? Like, what do you the people that live in Gilbert or Queen Creek or how do you guys experience the lack of response? They sure collect those tax dollars, big taxes. This is Sleepy Joe's America. This is what they want. This is George Soros to destroy our country. Well, I mean, I got what now I'm discombobulated. Let me ground myself. This is one of the things that made me decide Preston Lord's story deserves to be told. And there is no better way to tell his story than through Jacob Pennington. Now, you should hear a noise that goes dun, dun, dun. Okay. Every time we hear Jacob Pennington, you should hear dun, dun, dun. Because, well, Jacob, he's a killer. All right. The story of Preston Lord and what ended up happening with him really is exemplified by Jacob Pennington and whatever the hell is going on with Jacob Pennington. Now, I don't like Jacob Pennington. Don't get me wrong. I said that the story of Preston Lord is best told through or with the story of Jacob Pennington. Uh-oh. And I was trying to get it pulled up. Hold on a second. Present. Dun, 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 ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. There we go. All right. So the demise of Preston Lord. I mean, let me be a little bit clearer here. All due respect and prayer to those that love Preston and his family. The reason that I chose to do my first video on this story is that the death of Preston Lord is a nightmare. I mean, it's one of those stories that when you read about it, you weep. Like there's actual tears. This is it's a terrible loss. And when you start reading everything you can find and watching anything you can find with people commenting and the news and whatnot, you feel overwhelmed. Do y'all remember that feeling? You remember that feeling with Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell? You remember as we sort of began kind of hearing what was going on, and then we started trying to figure out more about the details. Who can forget? Do you want to be a Mormon? Who can forget that? Do you remember how confused it was? Do you remember how confused everyone was? It was the hardest story to make sense of. There were so many different players. There were so many periods of time. There were so many outrageous moments. And it took at least a year or more for people to really get a good handle on exactly what in the world went off the rails with this Lori Vallow chick, right? That's the story of Preston Lord. It's exact kind of confusion that as you begin to get into the newscasts, as you start following the storyline, if you start learning about the different people that have been involved, the different people that have been arrested, you're just sort of left like, what? Adam who? What do you mean there's another person? It's just too much. It's huge. It's a huge story. And a reason that part of the reason I think, in my opinion, part of the reason why I think it's such an enormous story is specifically the lack of response from law enforcement. The failure of law enforcement, the failure of law enforcement to respond to the desperate calls of community members. This went on for more than 2 years. Pinal County, Gilbert, they knew that there was teen violence. They knew that it was out of control. They knew that there were multiple young adults that were being assaulted badly, hospitalized. And they also knew that they had received calls where these out of control teenagers had actually gone to people's houses, were terrorizing families to try to get to the son or the daughter or whatever. The police knew that this was happening, and yet they got voted the safest city in Arizona. How'd that happen? Because they didn't want to report it, I think. I think that's why it was so difficult to get the police to do anything official, either with the Lori Vallow case, Charles Vallow, Adam Cox. I think they didn't want to have these official reports because I think some bureaucrat, some politician somewhere in the mix said, just don't acknowledge it. Nothing official. We need those positive numbers to get the wealthy people in, to get the tax base. Don't report violent crime. Just deal with it quietly on the side. I think that could have happened. So to tell Preston's story, to bring Preston into this true crime community and introduce the devastation of what he experienced, and the 7 that have now been arrested. There's actually been more arrests, but some of those arrests have not yet pinned with the murder of Preston. They've been arrested for ancillary things like drug possession, dealing, things like that, including a parent. Yeah, If you go back and look at the title of this video, it's called Gilbert Goons with Culpable Parents. Are there parallels to the Crumbleys? Okay, remember that's the introduction to this whole series. So it is very similar to the Lori Vallow story because of the number of people involved and the number of years where the violence was occurring without proper response. And it took on, in my opinion, the Gilbert Goons became Lord of the Flies. Now, here we go. This is going to get me in trouble, right? I get in trouble. I do. All right. So what part is going to get us in trouble? So we are going to, oops, that's me. I don't want to look at me. And why is Charlie, there we go. That's what I want. I need to go over here too and take that blood is thicker than water background off. I don't even know why it's on. Right. Okay. Now then. So this is, pardon me, this is a newscast recent that we are going to get introduced to the mama of Jacob Pennington. And you may say, well, who is Jacob Pennington? You're about to find out. Here's what's going to get me in trouble. And I own it. You can be mad at me if you wish. But it goes along with my soapbox. You guys know I'm on a soapbox. I'm on a soapbox about parenting our children. Be present in your child's life. Set limits. Your 5, 6, 9, 10, 13, 14-year-old child did not come into the world with the knowledge and wisdom of a 30, 40, or 50-year-old person. You're the parent. You're the one who is supposed to set limits and teach them about healthy, safe behaviors. And we've reached a point in our culture where too many are being led by what their child wants, not what the child needs. It's not your job to be the friend of your child. You should be the expert coach of your child. You're the expert in the home. And so when your child says, but I don't want to school, I hate school, then it's time for you to take a moment, sit down, relax, and say, okay, I recognize you don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to work. However, these are things that we do because it gives us a better life. And here's how to manage the bad feelings that you're having now. This is what I do when I don't want to go to work, but I have to. This is how I get through that. This is how I make myself feel better so that I can get to work and do what I need to do. And then when I get home, I feel so much better that I went to work and did my job. You will feel better too. Parents have abandoned that type of engaged parenting. Part of that's probably because we have a lot of very young kids having kids. That could be part of it. There could be other issues too, like parental drug use, alcoholism, things like that. That might be a big concern. Are parents that are dealing with a mood disorder, like they themselves are dealing with depression or overwhelming anxiety, and they don't know how to get the help, or they may not even know that there is help, that they don't have to live with depression and anxiety. So this story, the murder of Preston, told through Jacob Pennington's experience, while it may be uncomfortable, it is a definite reflection to what my soapbox issues. Okay, so bear with me. I don't want to offend anyone. I truly don't. It's the exact opposite. I wish that struggling families that Jacob Pennington was living in, I wish they could find a healthier, happier path. That's my real wish. But if no one has the courage to stand up and say it, then how do they ever know that there's a different way? All right. So here we go. Let's listen to the broadcast.
Jacob Pennington, now the first person arrested to claim association with the group, telling investigators the name Gilbert Goons originated from a Snapchat group chat. Pennington is a name that I have been hearing about for months and have been reviewing videos of his that show criminal activity. This is the booking photo of 20-year-old Jacob Pennington. The Pinal County Sheriff's Office making the arrest Wednesday after this video of an assault in a desert area from November was turned over to investigators.
Okay, I want to be clear here. And Mama Bear already knows this. This isn't Jacob Pennington is a bad guy because we have a video. That's not the situation. The situation is we have one of the videos. But when we go through Jacob Pennington's telephone, there are dozens of videos that show a group of marauding, violent animals assaulting one terrified prey, a kid. Your kid, my kid, someone's kid has been targeted by the Gilbert Goons, which are really nothing more than just a pack of wild dogs. That's all they are. You can be mad at me if I say that, but if the shoe fits.
We determined through our investigation that Jacob Pennington, 20-year-old from Gilbert, was one of our main suspects in that. And so this morning we arrested him on that case.
Jacob, accused of not only hitting the 16-year-old victim, but holding him down while others continued attacking. Sheriff Mark Lamb saying more arrests could be coming.
Anybody that watches the video can see there's more than one person involved in this assault.
Court records show.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sheriff Lamb. Okay. You're going to have a hard time drawing teardrops from my eyes based on your plight. Between the sheriff, which is county level, Pinal County, you've also got local police in Gilbert, Arizona. You've got the Queen Creek Police. There are multiple agencies here that drop the ball not once, not twice, not thrice. We're talking about more than 2 years. And the people that are doing the podcast are continuing to find evidence. There are literally hundreds of videos of these little animals assaulting, hunting down, and assaulting kids, the community's kids. Sometimes they're boys, sometimes they're girls, sometimes they're kids that are younger than the Gilbert Goons, sometimes they're young adults that might be a little bit older. The Gilbert Goons range in age from arguably 13 or 14. There's some people that have said maybe 12, up to the oldest, which is 20. And remember, Jacob Pennington, this has been going on at least 2 years. So this is now a well-established gang. He is at the top of the food chart. He's a 20-year-old. He's a bad guy. But I wondered if his mommy thinks so.
Jacob told deputies he was associated with the group, the Gilbert Goons. Currently, the Pinal County Sheriff's Office is one of several agencies across the state investigating whether the group can be classified as a criminal street gang.
State versus Noah Pennington's.
Jacob's brother, Noah Pennington.
Oh, wait, what? What? Excuse me. So mommy has the 20-year-old Gilbert Goon, who is basically the librarian of sorts for the Gilbert Goons, the Lord of the Flies. Jacob Pennington is the Lord. Didn't they just say this kid's name was Pennington? Oh, Noah. It's the brother. It's the brother. So we've got Noah Pennington. We're talking about a kid that has gun charges, drug charges, assault, big boy crimes. So we got Noah and we got Jacob. Now, don't you think the mother is probably outraged? Don't you think the mother is horrified that not one, but both of her kids is implicated in nearly killing kids, beating them to death in the desert like a bunch of wild dogs? Don't you think that mom is just devastated?
Bars for weapons and drug charges. The ABC 15 investigators finding past court records showing Noah was also charged in a violent assault case involving a 14-year-old back in May of 2023. Those court records saying Noah had been involved in multiple shootings and violent crimes in the Gilbert area.
What? This is the kid who got beat up at the In-N-Out Burger, who had to move to a different country. This isn't Preston Lord who got killed. No, Noah is running around shooting at other kids and beating other kids. And these are not even the two stories I told you about today. And still, because of lack of appropriate police response in Pinal County and Gilbert, Arizona's crime statistics are such that it is named the safest city in Arizona. If you are not yet outraged, just wait.
Incidents, police say, escalating in frequency and severity.
I don't know why Gilbert PD stated that.
ABC 15 speaking exclusively Wednesday.
What is that noise? Did y'all hear that bizarre noise? It was some kind of animal. Whatever it is, I hope it's in trouble. I mean, I hope it's not in trouble. My husband's out there. Huh. Ooh, okay. Back on track here. Okay. So so this woman here in this video saying, well, I don't know why the cops are picking on my sweet little boy. That is Jacob Pennington and Noah Pennington's mother. And she is suffering a serious case of denial. In fact, she doesn't know why Gilbert police are lying on her sweet baby. Her sweet baby is not in the Gilbert Goons. Don't y'all understand that? The battle police are trying to make her sweet baby the fall guy. He's not in the Gilbert Goons. In fact, there's not even a gang named the Gilbert Goons, according to Noah and Jacob Pennington's mommy.
Gilbert area. The incidents, police say, escalating in frequency and severity.
I don't know why Gilbert PD stated that.
ABC 15 speaking exclusively Wednesday with the mother of Noah and Jacob Pennington. She says in Jacob's arrest, there is more to the story.
A young woman was hit, and as Jacob turned around and saw her be hit, he just reacted.
Alicia Tidwell claiming that neither of her sons are associated with the Gilbert Goons.
Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that heartwarming story? In fact, I think that Miss Pennington here, I think she's on to something. I think this should be the next Lifetime movie. Oh, her sweet baby jumped into a gang of monsters to save that poor little girl that was getting hit by bad kids. Yeah, her child is the hero.
Escalating in frequency and severity.
I don't know why Gilbert PD stated that.
ABC 15 speaking exclusively Wednesday with the mother of Noah and Jacob Pennington. She says in Jacob's arrest, there is more to the story.
A young woman was hit, and as Jacob turned around and saw her be hit, he just reacted.
Alicia Tidwell claiming that neither of her sons are associated with the Gilbert Goons.
I truly don't believe there's a Gilbert Goons group.
We're hearing right now today that Jacob is the first person to self-claim that he is a part of this group and be arrested.
What? So what you're saying, Miss Investigative Reporter, is that Jacob Pennington actually told the cops, yeah, I'm in the Gilbert Goons. He said it. While mommy is saying, I don't even think there is a Gilbert Goons. I don't think that's real. I think that's the cops being mean to my baby. There's no Gilbert Goons. I've never heard of anything so ridiculous. My child is a hero. In fact, my child was the one that came riding in on a white horse to save a damsel in distress in the desert. Yeah. No Gilbert Goons. I don't know why you're saying that. Why are you lying on my baby? Because your son told the cops that he was part of the Gilbert Goons.
What would you tell people that are hearing that?
I don't know where that came from. I don't know why they're saying Jake self-proclaims to be a part of the Gilbert Goons.
Alicia telling me she has talked to Jacob since his arrest Wednesday morning. Did you ask him about this news, what we learned from Pinal County?
Yes, and he just said that's not what I said.
But according to these court records, Pennington admitted to being associated with the Gilbert Goons. Gilbert police have not answered questions on camera about the group, a group they first denied knowing about. We do know they're continuing their investigations.
Now, that's easy to not hear. Let me just point it out. A group that they previously said, oh, no, I don't think there's a Gilbert Goons. That's right. Not only is mommy Pennington saying that Gilbert Goons are not a thing, about 2 years ago, the police were on record going, oh, no, I don't think there's a gang. Not here. Nope. We're the safest community in Arizona. How can we have a gang? The police denied the existence of the Gilbert Goons right up until they found Jacob Pennington's telephone with hundreds of videos of kids getting the crap beat out of them. You can't make it up. If it hadn't been for these two investigators, the podcast where they were researching all of these different crimes, teen crimes. They were researching them, and they began to realize these are not cops. These are YouTubers, journalists. They began to realize, wait a minute, this is the same kids. These are the same group of kids this is the same group from last weekend. And little by little, bit by bit, they came to realize that this whole urban myth about the Gilbert Goons was no myth at all.
Into teen violence in their community, and will continue pushing for answers. Back to you.
Back to you. All right. Now then, hold on. I hate when I do this. True Crime Arizona. That's not the podcast, though. Maybe that is the name of I thought it was named after the two researchers. Okay, I want to get the link to the podcast, and I accidentally disconnected that. I had the page up, and so how about this? As soon as we finish here, I don't want to waste a lot of time me searching. As soon as we finish here, I'll find it. I'll post the link into the community page, and then y'all can go and start listening to the podcast. Let me give to end today's video. Now, I'm going to be clear about this. So, story very much similar to the Lori Vallow case in terms of like the insidious connections, the tentacles going out into so many different parts of each community, each socioeconomic level, that it's too complicated of a tale to sit down and tell in one video. It just can't be done. It requires multiple videos focusing on very specific parts of the overall story. Where we are today is that there have been 7 arrests. There are additional arrests that are secondary or tertiary to the murder of Preston Lord. And all of this was put together by these 2 investigative reporters in True Crime Arizona. And they noticed the parallels, the similarities among all these kids. And then to make this long story short, Jacob Pennington is the first one arrested. And when the police get their hands on his phone, well, you know, after all, he's the librarian, the documentarian of the Gilbert Goons. All of the evidence is there. Maricopa County is engaged with Gilbert and Pinal County Sheriff's Office. They are engaged at the state level. They are officially working to declare the Gilbert Goons an actual recognized organized crime group called the Gilbert Goons. The reason that they want to do that is for charging purposes, punitive stage and whatnot. But you have to remember, they didn't just have connections to the murder of Preston Lord. They have assaulted dozens upon dozens of young people. They have had home invasion. They have had possession, intent to distribute, kidnapping. This is a bad group of people. Bad. B-A-D. You've got minors that are being charged as adults, and there is a felony murder charge so that when they prosecute for the murder of Preston Lord, there is the potential for it's a first-degree murder charge, felony murder, and it carries with it the potential for life in prison without parole or the death penalty. I think it's fair to say that most of the experts that I've seen commenting on this, they've been pretty clear that they would be surprised if Pinal goes for the death penalty. But maybe they will. Who knows? Make an example, correct? There have been parents arrested. Now you go, oh, here's the Crumbly connection. Not exactly, because the parent that has been arrested with his other son, that parent, in fact, was dealing drugs. That's right, people, even though he lived in $1 million home, and I don't know if it was $1 million, he had a very nice home. And he owned multiple businesses. He was an upstanding business owner in the community. Well, turns out he was also dealing drugs. And who were the primary sellers? It's his children. Wouldn't you do that? So it was a family business, okay? So they've all been arrested. We're going to learn more about the Renners and talk to them. They'll get probably 2 or 3 videos just for the Renner family. So there are so many stories within the story. And the best way to tell the murder of Preston Lord is through the upbringing and home of Jacob Pennington. That Jacob Pennington, we've seen his mom, we've seen her frame of mind, we've seen the way that she chooses to parent her children. Is it any wonder that both of her kids have grown up to be fearsome criminals in the community? This woman is in such an incredible state of denial that it's actually very shocking. So there are often jokes made about parents who find out their child stole a piece of gum or a candy bar or something, and then we grab them by the ear or the top of their head and pull them into the store and make them apologize to the store owner, and, you know, not only give the candy bar back, but also give money or donate every Saturday to sweeping and mopping the store, to teach our children, you do not victimize other people. You do not take advantage of other people. You do not, just because you have a want, you have a need, that is not a free ticket for you to exploit another. If you do not teach your children these things when they're young and the lessons are small, then your kids, Jacob Pennington and Noah Pennington, they will eventually find real punishment. So I look to the Pennington family as a cautionary tale. They're the cautionary tale in this story, where Preston Lord is absolutely the shining light in this story. This was a young man who was raised in such a way that he wasn't drawn to violence, that he became involved with activities in the school, that people liked him because he was nice and he treated people with respect. Somewhere Preston learned that. He didn't come into the world with some kind of pre-programming saying, Preston, you will be the nice kid. Preston, you will be the kid who is polite and kind to others. No, it's tabula rasa. We come into this world a blank slate, and it is the molding experiences of the world, the circumstances that the child finds themselves in, the choices that child faces, and the guidance that they receive, that make a determination between, are you a Preston Lord in this world, or are you a Jacob Pennington? I want to give a brief timeline of this murder of this fine young person. And that's how I'm going to end this particular video. And then as we go next video, we'll go a little bit more into the 7 that have been arrested and what the charges are. And then we'll have to look at the Renner family, because they're very similar to the Pennington, Jacob and Noah Pennington. The Renner family is very similar in terms of the level of criminal activity. However, with the Renner group, it's definitely upper SES, socioeconomic level. And the dad has been arrested on drug trafficking charges. So even though there's plenty of money here, maybe not with the Penningtons, but with Renners, lots of money, nice house, but he has now molded his 2 boys into criminals. But he himself wasn't behaving in a criminal fashion. So yeah, again, parallels to the Adelsons. You know, is it true? Can you have a family where not only are the parents criminal, but somehow they establish an environment where the kids pick that up? Sure, of course. And maybe the Renners are that example. All right, so there was an assault November 22nd, 2022. A juvenile was assaulted outside of a home near Higley and Riggs Roads in Gilbert. And then December the 3rd, there was a group of people, remember this, 2022, a group of people assaulted an adult, a grown-up, in a parking garage on Vaughn Avenue west of Gilbert Road in downtown Gilbert. I believe this was the case where they assaulted a grown man, but the reason for the assault was it was a beat-in. Where if you're getting a new gang member, an initiate, that part of the initiation process is that they have to be involved in like a gang, a group beatdown. You either beat them up or they can choose to beat another person. So that garage assault against a grown-up, that was a beat-in for an initiation, a gang initiation. December the 16th, there is another assault victim in Gilbert. What? We don't have violent crime in Gilbert, Arizona. I don't know what you're talking about, lady, but we are the safest city in Arizona. The statistics prove it all. Or your police officers are not handling their business. And my apology, Duty Ron, I love the cops, but there's a problem in Gilbert. So they're on December 16th, there's an assault in Gilbert. December 17th, there's an assault in Gilbert, like daily. This all happened in Gilbert. December 30th, Connor Jarnigan, 17, is assaulted while he's in his vehicle. This is the one that I was telling you about at the In-N-Out Burger, where his dad ultimately made the decision, we got to get him out of this country because these people have followed him from one high school to another. He was so badly injured that he was hospitalized. He had staples in his head. It was a devastating attack on him, and he didn't do anything. May of 2023, there was a minor who was assaulted in Mesa, and this did not get reported to the police until January. Why? Because the kid didn't tell anybody, because they are having their lives threatened by this group of wild dogs. July the 6th, William Owen Hines, 18, was accused of vehicular assault in connection with an incident that left a victim injured. Oh, Willie has been arrested, by the way. August 18th, the group of youths violently attacked a minor at the In-N-Out Burger on Market Street in Gilbert. That seems to be one of their favorite places. October the 28th, Preston Lord, a student at Combs High School, was assaulted outside a Halloween party in Queen Creek, $1 million homes, and was taken to the hospital, and he was in critical condition where he died 2 days later from injuries as a result of the assault. And a homicide investigation is opened and ongoing, and they just yesterday or day before yesterday completed like the 7th arrest. November the 14th, FBI joined the Preston Lord investigation, and a $10,000 reward was offered for information leading to an arrest in the case. November the 18th, you would think after all this, now you got the FBI involved, you got people being arrested. Wouldn't you think that these wild dogs would go, oh, we better lay low for a while? Oh, no. Because there's no parents at home. November the 18th, a 16-year-old boy was attacked by multiple people in a desert area near Wagon Wheel Road and Sundance Drive in Santan Valley. This is particularly horrifying, this particular assault. It was particularly horrifying because there not only was there the physical beatdown, but there were psychological torture that was involved in November the 18th. November the 30th, the Queen Creek Police Department said it was making progress in the investigation of the murder of Preston Lord. They said, and I quote, "We have received hundreds of tips through the FBI." Do I look mad? Let me tell you why I'm mad. Because right now, today, I can go on Twitter or I can go on TikTok and I can look at this group of kids, this Gilbert, Arizona, Queen Creek, Pinal County area. I cannot tell you how many kids took the chance, took their lives in their hands to take photographs or videos of these Gilbert Goons, posting them on social media and saying, this is the kid that kicked Preston in the head. Oh, we needed the FBI. Is that right? Is that right, Gilbert, Arizona, or Pinal County Sheriff Lamb? You needed the FBI to figure out which kids to arrest? The kids of Pinal County are terrorized by this group of wild dogs that you law enforcement people have ignored for more than 2 years. They're so terrorized that when Preston Lord was assaulted and died, they finally started putting up pictures and trying to tell you guys who these Gilbert Goons were. You didn't need the FBI. I'm mad. It happens sometimes, and I apologize. I am outraged. And those kids that took the chance, those kids that found the courage to get these pictures and videos and put them out and say, this is the one. He's the one that kicked Preston in the head. I saw this guy holding Preston. I saw this guy doing this. Those kids, they are warriors. They are heroes. Don't you tell me the FBI is the hero here. I've seen the videos and the pictures. Now I'm going to relax. Now I'm going to get grounded because I got angry because Preston Lord should be alive today. And the rest of these kids in the story should be in prison, period. And Gilbert, Arizona is absolutely not the safest town in Arizona, I promise. Just because you don't report the crime doesn't mean that the blood didn't flow. So you police officers, you politicians, it's all coming home to roost, and it's not over yet. So November the 30th, Queen Creek Police Department said it was making progress. December 22nd, we already did December. January the 3rd, Gilbert Police Chief Michael Solberg responded to the charges submitted in the Lord case, Preston Lord, and denounced youth violence. I don't have any violence. What do you mean? Didn't you say that there were no Gilbert Goons? Didn't you say that? Weird. Very strange. Police Chief Solberg. Very odd that after a very good kid is taken from us, then now suddenly you got youth violence? Solberg did not mention the Gilbert Goons by name, but said the department is investigating prior cases involving youths in the past 2 years to see if there were any connections. And oh yeah, it wasn't the FBI that instructed Michael Solberg that he had a violence problem in his community. It was a couple of YouTubers. It was a couple of investigative reporters. How do you like that? January the 5th, Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell said the review into the charges stemming from Preston Lord's death would be a lengthy process. Mitchell said her prosecutors had to sift through an 1,800-page police report with 2,000 pieces of evidence, including 600 videos. The FBI gave you all that? Or was it reporters that didn't have any skin in the game for making sure that Gilbert, Arizona was named the safest community in Arizona? Telling you, there's corruption here, there's corruption here, there's corruption here. I believe it in my soul. I don't have any special knowledge of it, but this isn't wrong. How does one small community have 2,000 pieces of evidence, 600 videos for the assault of one kid? because all that evidence was more than the assault on Preston. It was all these kids on YouTube and TikTok that took their lives in their hands and posted this stuff and said something has to give. We are being terrorized. We are being terrorized in our homes. We're being terrorized when we go get a hamburger. We're being terrorized at parties, and we're being terrorized in the hallways at our schools, and no one is doing anything. And now Preston is dead. It's crazy. It's really crazy. January the 8th, the Gilbert Police Department said it was investigating eight youth violence cases that could involve the Gilbert Goons, including 4 that were recently, listen, reopened. I don't know. Call me skeptical, but I'm just going to take a wild guess here, Police Chief Solberg, friend of Jason Mao. Maybe Gilbert is not going to be on that list of safe communities in Arizona in the future. Just a guess. You let a snake pit fester and grow. You put your community in danger from children who are out of control. The department said the 4 new cases came from incidents that were previously unreported and came about through online tips. Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Police added that the investigations would determine if the Gilbert Goons could be classified as a criminal street gang under Arizona law. And Maricopa County is the state who is working on that. So I have a little bit of faith in that. January the 9th, the Gilbert Town Council unanimously voted to create a 3-member subcommittee to address the issue of youth violence. Is that right? Is that right, Chief Michael, that you have to wait till one of the kids is murdered, dead? It wasn't enough that you got a kid that's got staples in his head. So you got another kid's in ICU. That's not enough. You sit around on top of this hiding, suppressing the real level of violence in your community. And once one of them is dead, oh, now we're going to make us a committee. We're going to have a committee, a 3-member committee. Call me jaded, just curious. Your 3-member committee on youth investigating youth violence, is this going to be to bring it to light? Is this going to be to make the community safer, or is this going to be a process of destruction of evidence? I kind of think we know where it's going based on the evidence that happened in January 6th. Oh, what? We destroyed it, but that evidence was going to prove that Donald Trump incited violence. Why'd you destroy the evidence again? That doesn't make sense. If our presidential candidate did in fact incite violence, we should see that evidence. We should prosecute. Why did you destroy it, Liz Cheney? It's just a question. And Mr. Solberg, I kind of guess that the community is probably asking their kids to make copies of every piece of evidence, every text, every video, every photograph that they have, just in case the evidence that they give you goes missing. There'll be a backup. January the 10th, 5 arrests were announced in connection with violent attacks on minors in the East Valley. In one case, Jacob Pennington, the 20-year-old, the oldest member of the Gilbert Goons, was arrested for his involvement in the November 18th attack in the San Tan Valley. Pennington said in a post-arrest interview he was associated with the Gilbert Goons, according to the probable cause statement. It was the first connection announced by police between the Gilbert Goons and the violent attacks. It wasn't. It was just It wasn't the first connection they experienced. It was the first time they owned it. In a separate case, Christopher Fantastic. If you see the video of Christopher Fantastic, then you too will shake your head like, what a ridiculous excuse for a human being. In a separate case, Christopher Fantastic, 18-year-old, and Aris Arredondo, 18-year-old, and two 16-year-olds were arrested on aggravated robbery and aggravated assault charges for the August 18th attack at the In-N-Out Burger in Gilbert. See, now the eyes are everywhere. Now everybody's watching. Now Chief Solberg, he can't cover anything up now. Now he's got to own it. I'm telling you, the people of Gilbert should be furious. In my opinion, they should be absolutely furious. This group of kids, this level of criminality was allowed to just get stronger and spread and flourish under this police chief. I believe it in my heart. January the 11th, the Gilbert Police Department asked for the public's help in identifying suspects in 5 youth violence cases. Police released photographs and more information on those cases, 2 of which were reopened while 3 others were previously unreported. And why are they unreported? Well, because, Mr. Solberg, because your police officers failed to intervene when they had made attempts to report, and the kids learned, I better keep my mouth shut so that I don't die. Own it, police chief. January 11th, a 17-year-old boy is arrested in connection with the May 29th assault on a minor in Mesa. The incident was reported to the Mesa Police Department by the victim's stepfather a week before the arrest. So all these other cases, all 2 years, 3 years worth, all these other cases that occurred and were reported, and there's no response. The cases are closed, unsolved. These kids are left at their own peril. Now, after Preston dies, after the kids come out and say, we are being brutalized and terrorized by a handful of people known as the Gilbert Goons, it only takes them 1 week to make an arrest for the person that beat up the 17-year-old. This is a family's nightmare. To live in a community where your police are not protecting you. It's terrible. January the 12th, Garrett Bagshaw. Oh, Garrett. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Garrett. January 12th, Garrett Bagshaw, 18, was arrested in connection with the November 18th attack on the 16-year-old boy at the Wagon Wheel Road. It was the second arrest in the same case. January the 16th, here's Christopher Fantastic. Again, he is already in custody, but then they get the videos, and now he is arrested for aggravated assault in not only the August 18th case, but the May 29th case. Oh, yeah, Christopher. You cool. You cool, Mr. Fantastic. January 24th, Kyler Renner. I told you we were going to talk about the Renner family. They're going to get their own video. Kyler Renner, 18, was arrested in connection with 2 assaults that occurred in 2022. One was from November 22nd, and one was from December the 3rd. Gage Garrison and a 17-year-old minor were also arrested in the same parking garage attack. So you see, come January, it's now beginning to kind of gel. right? Now the cops are going, okay, well, we got investigative reporters watching us. We better pay attention. January 25th, another suspect is arrested in connection with the November 22nd assault. This one a minor. January the 30th, DeLeon Haynes, 19, and another minor are arrested for their roles in the August 18th assault at the In-N-Out Burger lot in parking lot in Gilbert. 4 people are already arrested for this incident, including the Renner group. January 31st, Jacob Pennington, who is the oldest of the Gilbert Goons, he's 20. Oh, Billy Owen Hines. William Hines. Oh, he's a winner. He's 18. And then there's a 17-year-old minor. He's arrested and charged with 2 counts. The 3 of them are charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault for their roles in the December 2nd, 2022 incident near Williams Field Road. The same minor, the 17-year-old, was arrested in connection with a December the 3rd assault in a parking lot near Gilbert Road in downtown Gilbert. William Hines and a different 17-year-old were arrested in connection with an assault at a residence. This is where they go to the people's house at Higley and Riggs in November of 2022. February the 1st, there are 2 Gilbert youth violence suspects that are indicted on assault charges in a pair of previously unreported incidents. William Hines was indicted on 1 count of what? Vehicular assault. He used his car to run over a kid. On July the 6th, the kids left badly injured. The other suspect indicted was 18-year-old Noah Lee Pennington. Yeah, that's Mommy Pennington's baby. You know, Jacob Pennington's brother. The guy who's protecting damsels in distress. Noah Pennington faces 2 counts of aggravated assault and 1 count of disorderly conduct. His incident is said to have occurred in where? Gilbert, the safest city in Arizona, on December the 16th. February the 7th, the 2 parents of Preston Lord finally break their silence on their son's death, and they release the following statement. The loss of our son is impossible to bear, and we understand that there is work to be done to achieve justice for Preston. Lord's prayers, and they sign their name. We are exercising patience to ensure the best possible outcome and to ask members of the community and the media to do the same. Because there is outrage. And it sounds like to me that when they finally made this statement, I think the police asked them to do it. I think that I could be wrong. That's only my opinion. I don't know about this. But this statement, we are exercising patience to ensure the best possible outcome and to ask members of the community and the media to do the same. Doesn't that sound like cops have asked them to try to calm the anger, the outrage over what happened to this very fine young man at the hands of a bunch of absolute hardened criminals? Cops, whether you're county or your state or you're local to Queens Creek or Gilbert or all of Pinal County, it is not the community's job to be calm after you have spent more than 2 years allowing the kids in your community to be brutalized and traumatized and terrorized. And then you've got this mother saying, oh, no, Gilbert Goons, that's not real. It's not true. My son didn't say that. I don't know why Gilbert police said that. My kid didn't say that. And Gilbert Goons are not real anyway. So I don't know. In fact, there's a story. My baby was the only one that stepped up to protect the honor of that poor, poor girl who was being assaulted in the desert. You, ma'am, are a liar. Your son did harm that young lady. He was the one holding her while other people hit her and beat her. And your other son has attacked people. And the reason I can say that without fear of being sued is because it was all captured on video. The reason I know is because I've seen it. February 7th, Gage Garrison and Cody Costeries was arrested on assault and burglary charges in connection with a December the 17th, 2022 incident. Gage Garrison has been previously arrested for the December the 3rd attack. Police also submitted long-form charges against Nolan Russell. Well, at least he had the good sense to try to run. He was out of state. February the 15th, the Mesa Police Department asked for the public's help in identifying a third suspect in a 2023 Mesa youth violence case. Christopher Fantastic, an 18 and 17-year-old were already arrested in the case and just they caught extra charges. February the 20th, a 17-year-old girl was arrested in connection with a September 23rd assault. I believe this is the one where she was sitting in the car, I think, when the robbery occurred. Maybe she was like the getaway driver. I'm not sure about that one. Aggravated robbery, assault, and disorderly conduct. Very ladylike. February 22nd, Gage Garrison. Do you notice a pattern here? Is it just me, or does it seem like there may be a pattern here to who these different criminals are committing different assaults, different crimes, different dates, different locations? It's all the same people. Sounds like organized crime to me. Gage Garrison, 19, Cody Costeries, 18, were indicted on one count of aggravated assault for an attack that occurred on December 17th. Kyle Renner, oh, it's another member of the Renner family. This is a new member. We haven't talked about him before. He is indicted on 6 counts stemming from a traffic stop March 29th in Gilbert. And since that time, when he was arrested, they were testing substances that were found in the car. And so since that time, the substances all came back positive for, I don't know, there was methamphetamine and some kind of opiates. I don't remember all of them, but all came back positive. And so now he's facing those big trafficking charges. February 22nd, 20-year-old Jacob Pennington is arrested for I know, Mama Pennington, it's your baby, and he's a good boy, and he didn't do any of this. 20-year-old Jacob Pennington arrested the 3rd time, this time for an attack that takes place at Williams Field Road and Santan Village Parkway. It is the same attack of the 17-year-old girl who was arrested on February 20th. February 27th, the Arizona legislature decides against voting for a bill to ban brass knuckles. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Like, everybody needs brass knuckles. I want brass knuckles. Don't you guys want brass knuckles? The bill was spearheaded by Connor Jarnigan, who was a victim. He is a 17-year-old victim of a terrible attack by the Gilbert Goons, who were wearing what? Brass knuckles. Arizona, that is your legislature working for you. March the 6th, 4 suspects were charged in the death of Preston Lord. Since then, there's 7 total. Talon Renner, Dominic Turner, Palin Vigil, and William Owen Hines. You hear the repeat of these names. We get new names too, but you hear these. This is organized crime, the very definition of organized crime. They were all named suspects in a press conference by Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. Rachel Mitchell, thank you. Each of the four were charged with first-degree murder, felony murder, and kidnapping. You know what that means? You know what that means, Talon, Mr. Renner, Billy Hines? You know what that means? Death penalty. Each of the four were charged, and Turner caught additional charges. He's all jammed up with aggravated robbery. March the 7th, 3 more arrests in Preston Lord's death were announced. Taylor Sherman, Jacob Meisner, and Treston Bailey. They are facing first-degree murder and kidnapping charges. Meisner also faces aggravated robbery charges. So that we're not completely caught up, but we're pretty close with that particular timeline. Okay, and where did I get that timeline from? Hold on. Radio station KTAR News. That is number 92.3 on your FM dial. Okay, I know. I do not have a voice made for radio. Okay, so there we are. We're here. Here we are. This is it. This is the jumping off point for the terrible story of how Preston Lord was murdered. But we have to understand that the Gilbert Goons, all of these names and charges that I just read to you, this is not something that happened in a few weeks' time. This was not an accidental disagreement over a girl. This is a pattern, a well-established pattern of behavior at least 2 to 3 years back that law enforcement in Pinal County and Queens Creek, and especially Gilbert, law enforcement simply did not respond to. And in the best form of Lord of the Flies, the inmates took over the asylum, and good kids were harmed. Good people were forced to move. And sadly, the best among us, Preston Lord, he was killed and lost his life. But you still got Mama Pennington telling you how her baby boy didn't do anything wrong. If I can say anything that comes out of this today, it's this. You are not helping your child when you stop them from facing consequences for their behavior. We all screw up, everyone. We all do it. We can't get through life without screwing up. But if you screw up, if you hurt another person, if you exploit someone, if you steal or attack, hit, assault, if you hit someone when you're in the 5th grade, or you steal a candy bar in the 3rd grade, you don't get sent to the federal penitentiary. You don't. If you get caught drinking underage at 15, you don't face life in prison or worse, the death penalty. You don't. And for parents that protect their children from the consequences that they earn through their own behavior, you are not helping your children. You are insulating them from corrective action. And what that means is your child is learning a completely different lesson. They're not learning the lesson of, I should treat others with respect. I should not exploit people. I should not harm people. I should not steal something just because I want it. You are not allowing them the opportunity to learn that, to experience that discomfort. And that means you're teaching them unintentionally, that's okay. I can do whatever the hell I want to. Nobody can stop me. I'm special. I don't have to follow the rules. I can do what I want to. And when it's your child who is now financially benefiting from their criminal activity, and they give themselves a name like Gilbert Goons, now your child, they're looking at the death penalty. Let your kids stumble and fall when they're in the 3rd grade. When they're in the 5th grade or 6th grade and they get caught, let them face the consequences. Because it's a whole lot easier to scrub off a brick wall that your kid tagged, or to return a candy bar they stole, or to lose driving rights for a year because they drank while they were driving. That is a lot easier lesson than waiting until they're just knee deep in criminal organized crime activity and they are looking at the death penalty. All right. What do you guys think? Are we done? If you enjoy, I hate to use the word enjoyed. It's a horrible, horrible situation happening in Gilbert, Arizona, right on the heels of the Lori Vallow, Alec Cox nightmare, Charles Vallow murder, the death of Tylee and JJ. Gilbert, law enforcement, get your act together. Come on. Stop the nonsense. I don't know what's gone wrong there. I don't know if it's corruption. I don't know if maybe somebody, I mean, we know that we've got a father in this mix who was making money through drug trafficking, and he's a local business owner. It's craziness. What are you guys doing out there? It's crazy. It's really crazy. So if you found this video, this time that we spent reviewing this case, these cases, and the people involved, if you found it compelling, if you find the story of Preston Lord and his murder, if you find this worthwhile to continue, put a 1. If you found it too confusing and maybe not consequential enough, put a 2. And I'm curious about where everybody stands. You know what I mean? This is a case, the murder of Preston. It's been a long time since I felt a lot of passion about what I was covering on YouTube. This case gets me. It touches me. So much loss. First and foremost, the loss of obviously the victims, the families that love these victims, primarily Preston Lord, his mom and dad and friends and family. But even the kids that got caught up in this criminal lifestyle, even the kids like Jacob Pennington and Noah, Billy Hines, even their tale is tragic and horrible. No, can you imagine Jacob Pennington, arguably established organized crime in his community? Can you imagine if he had taken a different path in life rather than using his intellect to harm people and exploit others? Can you imagine if he had instead valued education? If he had decided to be a business owner or to go to college and, I don't know, be a doctor or attorney? You see the loss? It's the loss of Preston Lord is real. He was one of the shining stars in America. We all lose when kids like Preston Lord die. All of us lose, everyone. But we also lose when the Jacob Penningtons of the world fall by the wayside. When the Billy Hines destroy and blow up their potential. There's a base reason for kids to fall into this kind of thing. I know, I hear the adage, and I know hurt people. I know that. Is that an excuse? I've been hurt. My kids were hurt. People get hurt. You guys have been hurt. We all get hurt. But maybe there was somebody in our lives that taught us how to manage the hurt, that taught us that being hurt is just as much a part of life as being helped. And that you can be happy, you can be sad all at the same time. That it's not an either or, it's not all or nothing. And how we choose to manage our pain, our disappointment, the way we feel when someone lets us down, the way we choose to manage that can have a long way toward how we choose the decisions we make in our future. And so for those kids like Jacob and Noah and Billy Hines, I don't even want to talk about the Renners, because their dad, two thumbs down for Mr. Renner. We have to, as parents, I think substances, I mean, they've been around forever, right? I mean, wine in the Bible, the peace pipe, people have used these substances. I mean, we obviously should use them or have used them because we have receptors in our brain that cause us intoxication. So there's medicinal properties to some of these substances and whatnot. So I'm not being like, I'm not calling for prohibition or anything like that. I'm talking about health and happiness. I'm talking about healthy boundaries, setting limits. When your kids are in the home and they need you, you shouldn't be soused. When your kids are there and they need you, you shouldn't be smoking a bong. I'm sorry. Call me old-fashioned, but when you look around at your community and what's happening, do you think it's working? I don't think it's working. I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that when we're dealing with our kids, we should be sober. We should be aware. And that the lesson needs to be a lesson of health and support and encouragement. Not a lesson of, do what you want to do. Those old people trying to cramp your style, to hell with them. Here, smoke a joint with me, boy. Come on, that is not getting your kids anywhere. I'm off my soapbox. Y'all know, you guys are my friends. You guys have been around a long time. You know how I feel about kids growing up in homes that are having a lot of trouble with substance use and mood disorders and things like that. We've got to do better. We got to make sure the parents are healthy. We got to help them financially. We got to lift up the kids. We've got to do this as a community. We got to help each other and love each other. All right. Except for Mr. Renner. I'm not going to help you, Mr. Renner. I don't want to love you. I think you're the worst among us. All right. You guys, let's see if I can very quickly find my goodbye music. Please, if you at least found the story compelling, if you were engaged during the video, will you please hit the thumbs up? If you have not subscribed, I hope you will, because I will be continuing with this story related to the murder of Preston Lord. It's been a long time since I've felt passionate about one of these stories. This one is it for me. I hope that you'll subscribe and come back and be here for the other discussions. And please feel free to share the video so other people can find us. And other than that, y'all have a good day.